Okay, so we are doing trapezoids, and there's going to be two types of trapezoids that we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on non-isosceles trapezoids and isosceles trapezoids. When we look at non-isosceles trapezoid, properties that they have is that only one pair of opposite sides are parallel, and then the consecutive angles between the pair lines are supplementary. So like this angle and this angle will be supplementary, and then this angle and this angle would be supplementary, but there's not necessarily any congruent angles. When you go to an isosceles trapezoid, however, the same is still true. You only have exactly one pair of opposite sides, and you still have consecutive angles being supplementary between parallel lines. But on top of that, you have that the non-parallel sides are congruent. And so they've marked this here and here as being congruent. And then diagonals are congruent, means this full thing and this full thing are going to be exactly the same measure. And then your base angles, okay, here's a pair of base angles. Those are going to be congruent. And here's a pair of base angles. Those are congruent. So your angles that connect one of the parallel sides are your base angles. And you have two sets of those. And then your opposite angles are supplementary. So not only are these consecutive angles supplementary, but these opposite angles are supplementary. All right, so let's do some practice. So if I am finding the measure of angle K, I know that this angle K and this angle L are going to be supplementary. So 180 minus 51, because supplementary means adding to 180, will give me 129 degrees for angle M, or for angle K. And now we're going to find angle M, and angle J and angle M are going to be supplementary. Okay, remember consecutive from previous unit between parallel lines. And so I'll do 180 minus 87, and so I'll get 93 degrees. Okay. Number 2, if we are finding the measure of angle C, it is supplementary with angle B. So I'll do 180 minus 31 to get 149 degrees. And to find angle A, or find angle D, I'll use angle A and subtract 62 from 180, and I'll get 118 degrees. All right, so we are now going to solve for x, and these two angles are between these two parallel lines connected there. So those two angles are supplementary. So I will do the 54 degree angle plus the 8x plus 6 degree angle equals 180. I will subtract the 6 from both sides and the 54 from both sides so that I have 8x is equal to 120. Divide both sides by 8, and I will get x is equal to 15. Okay, so they're still supplementary even with that. So if you look here, I have these two parallel lines. These two angles are going to be my consecutive interior angles for Q and R. Those two angles are. And so I know those two add to 180 degrees. So I'll add my two angles equal to 180 degrees. I will combine like terms, and I will minus the 3 over to the right and add the 13 over to the right, so that I will have 19x is equal to 190. Divide both sides by 19, and I get x is equal to 10, except for it asks for the measure of angle R. So I'll have to go plug it in here. So I'll do 7 times 10 minus 13, and I will get 57 degrees. All right, DEFG is an isosceles trapezoid, so that means that list we had before is true. So it says DG, that's this side here, and this side are going to be congruent, okay? Those opposite non-parallel sides are going to be congruent. So DG is congruent to EF. You're just completing that congruent statement. And then DF is this diagonal, and we learned up on the properties above that diagonals are congruent. So if we have DF, then we have EG as congruent. So those are segments that are congruent. So if you think about angles then, if I have angle T, it's going to be congruent to angle U. Those are what are called base angles. Base doesn't necessarily mean bottom. The base is going to be along one of the parallel sides. So your other pair of base angles is WV. And so if we have V already, I'm going to have it congruent to angle W. I'm going to find the rest of the missing angles. If they gave me angle P as 112, again, we know base angles are congruent. This has to also be 112. All right, so then if I want to find angle R, if this is 112 degrees, angle Q and angle R are consecutive interior angles. So I can do 180 degrees minus 112, and that will leave me with 68 degrees. If this angle here is 68 degrees, then this angle here is 68 degrees. You also could have subtracted this 112 to get this angle because the opposite angles are also supplementary. Keep it up. So if I have angle X as 47, angle W is also 47. If I want to find angle Y, these two angles are supplementary because they are consecutive interior angles. So I'll do 180 minus 47, and I'll be left with 133 degrees. If this is 133 degrees, base angles are equal, then this is 133 degrees. All right. So we have this isosceles trapezoid. If it doesn't say isosceles, then that list of things are not true, okay? So just make sure you follow that. We're going to first look at MP. We're looking for X and Y. If you notice, MP and NO both have X's, and then PN and MO have Y's. So if you look here, MP and NO are those non-parallel sides, and in an isosceles trapezoid, those are congruent. So I will just set 16x minus 13 is equal to 9x plus 8. I'll minus the 9x from both sides, and I'll add the 13 to both sides so that I will have 7x is equal to 21. I'll divide both sides by 7, and I'll get x is equal to 3. Now, if I look at my y equations, I have Pn here, and I have Mo here. And we know that diagonals are congruent, so I'll set those two equations equal to each other. So I'll have 12y minus 37 is equal to 5y plus 19. I'm going to subtract the 5y from both sides and add the 37 to both sides so that I have 7y is equal to 56. Divide both sides by 7, and I'll have y is equal to 8. Again, we have another isosceles trapezoid, and these are our base angles. So we know that our base angles are going to be equal, but we are finding more than just one angle. We're finding all the angles. But in order to find all the angles, we need to figure out what x is first. So we'll set 2x plus 27 equal to 5x minus 12. Okay, so then I will minus 2x from both sides and add 12 to both sides so that I have 39 is equal to 3x, or if you would have reversed it, 3x is equal to 39, and so then I'll divide both sides by 3 so that x is 13. So then if I'm finding all the angles, okay, I can't find angle A without first finding angle C or D. It doesn't really matter which one. Let's plug it into the 5x minus 12. So I'll find angle C first. So I'll do 5 times 13 minus 12. Okay, when I do 5 times 13 minus 12, I will get 53 degrees. If this is 53 degrees, then this is 53 degrees. So angle C is also 53. A good way to check would be to go ahead and plug 13 into 2x plus 27, and you would also get 53. Okay. And then to find B, angle B and angle C have to be supplementary. So I'll do 180 minus 53 so that I get 127 degrees. If angle A is also 127 if angle B is 127 because those are base angles. I wrote it in the wrong place, but it happened to work out. We have another isosceles triangle, but this time they gave us these consecutive interior angles. They are not the base angles because they're not connecting one of the parallel sides. Okay, so J and K are base angles. M and L are also base angles, but they're base angles together. So these two pairs of angles are going to add to 180 degrees. So I'll have 10x minus 33 plus 4x plus 17 is equal to 180 degrees. I'll combine my like terms and subtract my constants over to 180. So I'll have 10x and 4x combined is 14x. If I add the 33 and subtract the 17 over to the right, I'll have 14x is equal to 196. Divide both sides by 14, and I'll get x is equal to 14. If I'm finding the measure of angle J, I have an equation for that. I will do 10 times 14 minus 33, and that will give me 107 degrees. These are base angles. See how they're connecting this parallel side? So this is also 107 degrees. To find angle L, I need to know angle M. And so I can either subtract 107 from 180, or I can plug in 14 into 4x plus 17. So either way works. I'm going to plug it in because it's good practice and it's a good way to check. Okay, M4 times 14 plus 17 is 73, which is great. These should be supplementary, and 73 plus 107 is 180. And if angle L is 73, then angle M is also 73 degrees. On to number 12, another isosceles triangle. As in the property above, it said that the opposite angles are also supplementary. So I know that if I add these together, opposite meaning across from each other, not connecting any sides, 10x plus 5 and 6x minus 1 is equal to 180. If I combine my like terms and I subtract the 5 over to the right and add the 1 over to the right, I will have 16x is equal to 176. Divide both sides by 16, and I will get x is equal to 11. Okay, if I need to find angle W, I have an equation for that. So I can do 10 times 11 plus 5, and that will give me 115 degrees. If angle W is 115 degrees, angle X is also 115 degrees because they are base angles. Okay. If I know angle W, I can find angle Y because I can subtract from 180 and get it. So 180 minus 115 is going to leave me with 65. Or I could plug it into the equation. 6 times 11 minus 1 is 65. So we checked it. And angle Y and angle Z are base angles together, so they're also congruent. 13. Okay. Angle C and angle D we have an equations for. They're base angles, so they're equal to each other. So I'm going to do 18x plus 5 is equal to 21x minus 16. I am going to subtract 18x from both sides, and I'm going to add 16 to both sides so that I will be able to get 21 is equal to 3x. Divide both sides by 3, and I'll get x is equal to 7. And if I want to find angle C, I'll plug in 7. So I'll have 21 times 7 minus 16, and that will give me 131 degrees. Angle D then has to be 131 degrees because they are congruent. Or I can plug 7 into 18x plus 5. Now, in order to get angle E, angle D and angle E are supplementary because they share the non-parallel side. And so I'll do 180 minus 131, which is 49 degrees. Angle F and angle E have to be the same measure, so it's also 49 degrees. Again, these rules that we're using only work for isosceles trapezoids. Otherwise, you only have consecutive angles adding to 180. That's all you would have between the parallel lines. All right, find each missing angle. Again, last one that we're going to do for today, and then tomorrow we will finish up into the mid-segment. All right, and we have opposite angles, and if you recall, we've done one like this before. Opposite angles are congruent. Not incongruent, they add 180, so 14x minus 25 plus 3x plus 1 is equal to 180. So I'll combine my like terms. I'll also add 25 to the 180 and subtract 1 from the 180. So I'll have 17x is equal to 204. I'll divide both sides by 17 and get x is equal to 12. So if I'm finding angle S, well, angle S and angle T are congruent. So if I can find angle T, then I can find angle S. So I'm going to plug in 12 here so that I can get 37 for angle T, which then in return, since these are base angles, angle S is also 37. Now I could plug 12 into 14x minus 25, or I can do 180 minus 37, and I can find angle U and angle V at the same time because they're going to be congruent, and I'll get 143 degrees because angle T and angle U are supplementing, or angle S and angle